UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, you can hardly have missed the story. Mohamed al Fayed, the former Harrods boss, stands accused of actually very inappropriate sexual behaviour around loads of women. But 5 women in particular have come forward claiming that while they were in his employ at the Top People's store there in Knightsbridge in London, he raped them. And apparently his MO was to wander around the shop floors looking for attractive assistants and get them to come up to his office or his apartment. He had a swish apartment on Park Lane. He had a very swish apartment at the top of the store. And very, very nefarious things went on, we're told. Now, as I say, these are very serious claims, and we have no reason to disbelieve these ladies who have been very brave in coming forward. So this isn't in no way meant to undermine their allegations. But as I say, Al Fayed died 13 months ago, last August. And suddenly we got this BBC documentary, we've got stories everywhere, and I'm thinking, why now? Why now? Why has this suddenly happened? I think it's good that it happened. If these allegations are true, it's only right that they should come out. But why now? To try to get to the bottom of this, in the studio, it's Barrister Andrew Eborn. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, it's good to see you, Kevin. It's a horrible, horrible story. Yeah. I saw the documentary, and my thought, first of all, is to the victims.
Of course.
And the reports of what happened, apparently, you have to say apparently in this situation, are really, really awful. In answer to your question, a lot of it's about defamation. So what came out is that any suggestion whilst Al Fayed was alive is he was incredibly litigious, and he would basically threaten to sue for litigation, threaten to go for the families and so on and so forth. As you know, you cannot defame the dead. Yeah. So because he's died, then more of these.
I'm a journalist, I'm well aware of that.
You've tried many times.
I based my career on it.
Thank you. But that's the principle. So what's happened now, Michael Ward, who's basically the managing director of Harrods now, he says there was a toxic culture of secrecy, intimidation, fear of repercussions, sexual misconduct.
This is, we should stress that, look, these kind of allegations around Al Fayed are not new. When he was alive, I think it was back in 2008, something like that, he actually, there was a case that one woman said that he raped her, and it got to the Crown Prosecution Service. It was a police case, but it was decided that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. And ask any judge. Everybody always knew about these rumours about Al Fayed, so nothing. So, but yes, he's dead now, so it would have been more difficult when he was alive. But still, 1 year and 1 month. Why now?
No, you're absolutely right, Kevin. And actually, there were 2 cases that went to the CPS, and Sir Keir Starmer was in charge of it then. And people are suddenly turning around and saying, look, why?
Jimmy Savile, Al Fayed.
You go through, questions have to be asked. And what I always say is we have to question everything. And what happened, we revealed in this documentary, is there were sort of security guards. The suggestion was that people would be groomed. They would be sent to a doctor who would give them a clean bill of health sexually. They'd do an internal examination.
Before he...
Exactly. Incredible. What I have to put, because obviously evidence is coming out. You get one side of the story. And I never like trial by media because it's, as you know, it's sort of one side.
Yes.
But Dr. Anne Coxon, who's one of these alleged doctors, she's come out today in the last few hours, I can say, saying that she was, and it was put to her, did you carry out these sexual health checks? She said, absolutely not. So there's all sides to all sorts of stories. What we have to do is basically get the evidence. What we've heard is one side and a few horrible reports from the various people concerned, and they are harrowing, if true, and I'm sure there's absolute veracity in a lot of them. You then have to ask the question, well, why has it taken so long? Some of these people were employed for 5 years, and they say throughout that 5 years, and the suggestion was there was all sorts of intimidation. He would threaten people, he would threaten their families, security guards and so on and so forth were basically there and put them in difficult positions. What we need to do is basically, as I say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. We need to look at everything within those equations, talk to the witnesses, and also work out, was there any criminality, people who are still alive now, was there any criminality in terms that they were actually helping with these crimes?
Again, I'm not saying this in a pejorative way, but is there money in the air? Are these women going for compensation?
And if their allegations
allegations are true, they deserve compensation.
Okay, no, you're absolutely right. And it's important first, and that's why I always emphasise the victims first. So look at that sort of side. The legal side is interesting, and it's interesting for a number of reasons, because in a civil action, there's what's called the statute of limitation.
Yeah.
And the statute of limitation says that certain claims have to be brought within a period of time. And there's majority of times it's 6 years from when the action happened, or it's 3 years from when it was discovered. Okay. So if it's something that discovers that they haven't complied with their obligations...
Even if that's a suing for money?
Yes. Well, they're basically what the law does is try and put you in the position you would have been in if the offence had not been committed. And that's tricky, because you can talk about the damage and mental health and so on and so forth, and the law tries to be as transparent as possible. It tries to say, like, here's a tariff, you can work out what effect it's had on your life and so on and so forth, and that's why you come up with these figures.
Okay. Now, what about this then? Okay, so let's assume, as I must stress, if this happened to these women, they fully deserve financial compensation, quite a lot, I would suggest. But what is the situation in terms of them, I'm assuming, sort of suing Harrods?
Yes.
Harrods is now owned by the Qataris, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is a totally different management, a totally different company. Al Fayed's Harrods was a different Harrods to today. I mean, are they culpable?
Well, it's very interesting, their response, because they've come out with a textbook response for damage limitation, saying it was an appalling era. We absolutely distance ourselves from it, but the victims deserve compensation. Now, that's sort of like admitting liability before you've even gone through there. And that's why I say, from a sensitive point of view, from a legal perspective, it's very interesting. The question is to what extent there's been knowledge, what extent are there still people employed by Harrods who were part of this. And the suggestion was there was grooming going on. He would pick certain types of girls who would go on the floor and say, oh, I like that one, send her up to my office and I'll give her a better job. He would then invite them round to that apartment on Park Lane. And we've got reports in the documentary about security guards seeing girls coming down and looking dishevelled and terribly distressed. And so all of these things have to come out. But as I say, in the interest of balance, we need to make sure that the evidence is there. Questions need to be asked of everybody, including the CPS, including of Sir Keir Starmer. What did he know when he was head of the CPS? Why he decided not to prosecute, to take that case further? What did anybody who's currently employed by Harrods know on that sort of basis?
Knowing Keir Starmer, it would be for the same reason as under his auspices as DPP. He didn't prosecute Jimmy Savile. He said didn't know anything about it. Didn't come across his desk. Really?
But you're right, Kevin, and the optics are not good. And you've got
the buck stops with the boss.
You've got two-tier Keir, you've got a free gear Keir,
no beer
Keir, you've got all of this. It's not good.
The DPP is responsible, the Director of Public Prosecutions is responsible for every legal action under his regime. And just say I didn't know about Jimmy Savile doesn't really... I'm not sure I believe that, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. It's still his fault. He was the boss at the time. He's the DPP under whose auspices Jimmy Savile, it was decided, would not be prosecuted, and it looks as if we're heading towards a similar scandal in terms of Al Fayed. So the best of luck to the women. Last question, really. Are you expecting sort of lawsuits for money fairly soon?
Well, I think the reality is that, and you've got, as you rightly say, those who are victims, and they're undoubtedly been victims, and you're working on the basis of we trust the people involved. The opportunity, however, for others to come out of the woodwork who may not have been victims, we need to look at those cases. You just have to be very, very careful of that sort of situation. They've got various things to answer, as I say, lots of questions. Why is it taking so long to come out, and so on and so forth? What are the reasons? And the lawyers who've been going all over the media, same with Baby Reindeer case, they're the ones who've been driving the narrative.
Exactly, yeah, well, they so often do. Always the lawyers. And they should approach... You'd like this case, wouldn't you? And they should approach you because you have never lost a case.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, he's never lost a case, but he doesn't like to talk about it. He never
I'm too modest.
It.
It's my only failing is modesty.
Always good to see you, Andrew. Andrew Eborn, barrister there. When we come back, your calls. Stay tuned.